Well, good evening, everyone. Our top story at 6 o'clock. The Grandview mayor resigned suddenly and few details provided.
But investigator Kath discovered the FBI has been asking questions about the former city leader's now defunct nonprofit. Ryan?
Jadian, anytime a city leader, especially a popular one, suddenly resigns without explanation, there are going to be lots of questions. Well, tonight we've learned some of those questions are coming from the FBI. Steve Dennis issued that resignation on Friday, shocking residents and colleagues at City Hall. We've learned Dennis created a nonprofit called Matters of the Heart Incorporated about 2 years ago. But two city officials later filed complaints with the Secretary of State, saying they were listed as the board of directors without their knowledge or consent. At the time, the mayor said it was an honest mistake. But the board president tells me the FBI later showed up with questions about the nonprofit. Was it surprising for you to hear FBI and his name in the same sentence when they came to ask you questions?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I was surprised. I've known Steve I worked with him for the last 3 years, and he's an outstanding man and gave me no reason to think anything, I don't know the correct word to use, anything suspicious would have been going on.
Called the former mayor and also stopped by his house, but nobody answered. The state dissolved that nonprofit a year ago because Dennis didn't file an annual report. Officially, an FBI spokeswoman tells me she can neither confirm nor deny the existence of an investigation, but we'll stay on this and keep asking questions. I'm investigator Kath, 41 Action News.
Mayor Steve Dennis resigned late last week, and 41 Action News reported exclusively that the FBI had questioned two aldermen about the mayor.
And tonight, Garrett Haake is live in Grandview, where a meeting just wrapped up. He shows us who the feds talked to and what they want to know.
Tonight we learned that two additional aldermen were also contacted by the FBI with questions about the former mayor's charity.
To fill the vacancy in the office of mayor of the city of Grandview, Missouri.
With a unanimous vote, Grandview aldermen added a special election for mayor to the April 8th ballot. Across City Hall, former mayor Steve Dennis's office was dark. His official photo removed, just days after he abruptly resigned his post. On Monday, two city aldermen told 41 Action News the FBI called them with questions about Dennis's charity, Matters of the Heart, on which they had been listed as board members without their knowledge.
I had a conversation with them briefly at some point in the last year, and just about that, and shared with them the story, and that's all I know about the FBI stuff.
Tonight, Alderman Annette Turnbaugh and Leonard Jones told 41 Action News they too got calls from the FBI asking about the charity. They told the feds they knew nothing about it. But last April, Ann Heinzler questioned the mayor about it at a public meeting.
I saw it in his campaign literature that he was the director of Matters of the Heart, and I'd lived in Grandview for about 25 years, and I'd never heard of it.
We couldn't find any evidence of the charity's work anywhere, except for this mile of adopted highway along I-49. Back at tonight's meeting, most officials praised Dennis publicly, including a former alderman who called any investigation into him a politically motivated witch hunt.
He truly loves the city, and I believe that losing him as mayor is a major catastrophe for us.
Since his resignation on Friday, Dennis has not been heard from publicly and has not returned our calls. We'll keep digging. Reporting live, Garrett Haake, 41 Action News.
Well, tonight, new details about the former Grandview mayor whose sudden resignation shocked the city.
Our 41 Action News investigator Kath has uncovered evidence of what the FBI has been looking into. Ryan?
Jadian, I went to the Jackson County Election Board to look at Steve Dennis's campaign finance documents, and it turned out someone beat me to the punch. An FBI agent.
Like any other candidate around the state, former Grandview Mayor Steve Dennis had a requirement to list his campaign donations and expenses. Those reports are open to the public, but one of the people who requested the file last August really caught our attention. Take a look. The business card of an FBI agent.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order.
City leaders scrambled this week after the mayor's sudden resignation. We were the first to tell you the FBI questioned several elected leaders about Dennis's now defunct nonprofit, Matters of the Heart.
Was it surprising for you to hear FBI and his name in the same sentence when they came to ask you questions?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I was surprised.
But there are also questions about Dennis's campaign finance records. He coasted to victory in the April election and raised more than $26,000, dwarfing the amounts of his opponents. But get this, $15,000 of that campaign money came from Red Legacy, the developer currently in negotiations with the city for a massive redevelopment project here at Truman Corners. And some of the mayor's purchases with that cash? More than $3,000 spent at the Apple Store this summer. In all, Dennis spent 1/3 of his campaign money months after he'd already won re-election.
And I contacted the founder of Red Legacy. By email, he told me the campaign contributions were legal and added that the former mayor never voted on a Red Legacy issue in Grandview. We'll, of course, keep following this story and bring you any new developments. I'm investigator Ryan Kath, 41 Action News.
Tonight, new emails obtained by 41 Action News show desperation during the Grandview mayor's last days in office. Steve Dennis suddenly resigned earlier this month, and at the time we reported, the FBI was asking questions about a charity he ran. New tonight, Garrett Haake spent the day wading through those emails and joins us live now in Grandview.
These 85 pages of emails from Steve Dennis' final month in office mostly show the everyday workings of a small-town mayor, but they also show a man increasingly fearful that he was about to go to prison. In early January, emails between Grandview Mayor Steve Dennis and a local architect show a man clearly concerned about his future. On January 9th, Dennis writes that a meeting a few days prior didn't go well at all. I will need to resign as mayor as soon as tomorrow. The next day, the architect asks how he can help. Dennis replies he should pray for his family. I'm not sure how they're going to make it financially when I'm gone for a year to prison. Dennis sent his letter of resignation to the city that night. A few days later, he emailed his colleagues at City Hall to explain his sudden departure. Dennis told them he had been struggling for some time now, not knowing something he considered so benign could blow up to be so big. Dennis writes that he can't be more specific about why he stepped down for legal reasons, and asks anyone who knew more to please remain generic when talking to the media.
There's definitely more to the story that will come out in the next couple weeks.
Alderman Brent Steno, who was questioned months ago by the FBI about Dennis's charity, held firm today that when those details do come out, it will be clear city business was not involved.
No, there's no way that what happened with Steve has any relationship to the city of Grandview besides him being mayor.
The emails paint a fascinating portrait of a man almost universally described as an excellent cheerleader for Grandview. In one, he emails that same architect and says he'd like to continue working on a development project even after he resigns. But he says the two men would have to meet somewhere other than City Hall, where he would no longer have an office. Reporting live in Grandview, Garrett Haake, 41 Action News.
The 41 Action News investigators were the first to tell you about the FBI investigation. Now we're uncovering questionable purchases with taxpayer money. Investigator Ryan Kath has these exclusive details.
Your money spent with a city credit card on Christmas Eve and on made-up meals with local politicians. Tonight, the city of Grandview is already making changes because of what we found.
It's been very quiet at Steve Dennis's house since his sudden resignation as Grandview mayor.
How mysterious is all of this to you?
It's very shocking, surprising.
Next-door neighbor Liddell Lewis gets a lot of questions from folks around town, but he's also still waiting for answers.
It's the not knowing why is the biggest part.
41 Action News told you about FBI interest in the now-defunct nonprofit Matters of the Heart. And we took a closer look at Dennis's campaign contributions, as did an FBI agent who left behind a business card. Now we're asking serious questions about purchases with a city-issued credit card.
What jumps out at you the most from those records?
Probably the amount of activity.
Leonard Jones took over Dennis's spot in the midst of that controversy.
This has been a very difficult couple of weeks.
And was surprised when we showed him the former mayor's expense reports. Many of the purchases had no receipts, even for big-ticket items like this one at the Apple Store.
Hundreds of dollars of taxpayer money spent, no receipt to show what it is. How concerning is that for you?
Well, that is concerning. And again, if we can find out what has transpired, we will.
The most suspicious purchases we uncovered, more than $600 spent at Target, Walmart, and Gordman's. Once again, no receipts, and it was on Christmas Eve.
How do you explain that?
Well, it's hard to explain how. You know, it did occur. More importantly, what will happen in the future is what we can truly address.
There's one other bizarre twist. Dennis charged dozens of meals to taxpayers, sometimes saying he dined with local politicians like Kansas City Council members Jan Markison and John Sharp, and Jackson County Executive Mike Sanders. But those elected leaders tell us they have no record or recollection those meals ever happened. Another stunning development for neighbors who have known Dennis for years.
He always seemed to be an honest person to me, so to hear that is very surprising.
Grandview's mayor told me he's asking everyone on the Board of Aldermen to sign agreements like this by tomorrow, saying they'll provide receipts with every single city credit card purchase. He also says the cards will only be used for approved travel or training and will be kept in a locked safe at all other times. I'm investigator Ryan Kath, 41 Action News.
First, though, within the past hour, a show of support at City Hall in Grandview for a disgraced former mayor.
Steve Dennis admitted he pocketed money meant to help the poor in Grandview. Our investigator Ryan Kath broke the story of FBI involvement in the case and was inside the federal courtroom for us today. Ryan.
Jadian, a sudden resignation is never a good sign, so we've been digging for answers on this story, and today found out why the former mayor suddenly stepped down. Sir, you have a lot of supporters in Grandview, and they're just looking for an explanation. What can you tell them today about why this happened?
I'm truly not allowed to say anything right now.
Steve Dennis wore a pained expression as we tried to get answers outside the federal courthouse. The former mayor had just admitted to raising donations for his bogus charity, Matters of the Heart, and pocketing the money for himself. We learned International House of Prayer, or IHOP, gave $35,000 thinking it would help the poor in Grandview. But as 41 Action News was the first to report, the plan started to unravel when two city leaders discovered they were listed on the nonprofit's board of directors without their permission.
Did that seem suspicious at the time?
Of course it seems suspicious at the time. I mean, you don't like to see your names on documents of an organization that you never agreed to.
The FBI started asking questions, and so did we. 41 Action News found questionable expenses with Dennis's campaign contributions, beaten to the punch by an FBI agent who left behind a business card. And we also uncovered purchases with Dennis's city-issued credit card, including imaginary meals with local politicians and hundreds of dollars spent at retail stores on Christmas Eve.
Can you say whether any taxpayer money was misused, Mr. Dennis?
I can tell you unequivocally, no. This was all about just the donations to the nonprofit. That is it.
No mention of taxpayer money in today's plea agreement, but some wonder if the story is over.
If there's more to come out, I don't know, honestly, but it wouldn't surprise me if there was.
It's a stunning fall from grace for a popular mayor.
What can you tell all your supporters?
That I'll miss him.
Walking away from life as a public servant, Dennis now faces a term in prison.
And Dennis's sentence will be decided at a later date. As part of that plea agreement, he's expected to spend a year behind bars. I'm investigator Ryan Kath, 41 Action News.
Steve Dennis' financial secrets began pouring out the moment he abruptly resigned his post in January. First, we learned of thousands of dollars in campaign donations spent at the Apple Store and on purchases made after winning re-election. Then there were the thousands of taxpayer dollars spent on Dennis' city credit card, including hundreds spent on Christmas Eve at Target and Walmart, and dozens of phantom meals with other lawmakers they say never happened.
It's hard to explain how. It did occur.
But it was his work outside City Hall that would lead to a deal with federal prosecutors. Dennis admitted taking $35,000 from the International House of Prayer for his charity Matters of the Heart and spending it on himself and his family.
We said that you're free to use it to pay yourself a salary or anybody on your charity a salary.
IHOP's chairman said they were happy to support Dennis, who worked full-time hours for the city, earning part-time salary of less than $20,000.
We wanted him to keep working those long hours for Grandview, and we were happy to help him serve the poor.
But at sentencing, the judge revealed it wasn't just IHOP helping Dennis. Developer Red Legacy had given Dennis' teenage daughter $20,000 in scholarships that Dennis spent himself. A new twist not connected with the crime. Dennis and the developer had worked together closely.
For years, Red Legacy has been working on a massive redevelopment project here in Grandview, turning Truman Corners into this. Truman's Marketplace, a multi-million-dollar redevelopment that just last month got $40 million in public financing from the city of Grandview.
We called, emailed, and even visited Red's Plaza headquarters to find out why they gave that money. But no one was talking, including Dennis himself.
Why did Red give you a scholarship for your daughter?
It wasn't just Red, but it was that's a whole nother story that was never part of this thing.
Well, new tonight, a disgraced politician is paying back your money. Last week, we told you former Grandview Mayor Steve Dennis is heading to prison for a year. He was convicted of raising donations for a bogus charity and pocketing the cash, all for himself. But there were still unanswered questions raised by a 41 Action News investigation.
The feds didn't focus their investigation on Dennis's city-issued credit card, but we took a closer look and uncovered fake meals with local politicians and a Christmas Eve shopping trip. Tonight I've learned taxpayers are getting a refund. Sir, you have a lot of supporters in Grandview and they're just looking for an explanation. What can you tell them today about why this happened?
I'm truly not allowed to say anything right now.
Steve Dennis was at a loss for words moments after pleading guilty to a fraud charge in February. But there was one question on the courthouse steps the former Grandview mayor decided to answer.
Can you say whether any taxpayer money was misused, Mr. Dennis?
I can tell you unequivocally, no. This was all about just the donations to the nonprofit. That is it.
There was a reason I'd asked. The 41 Action News investigators uncovered questionable purchases with Dennis's city-issued credit card, including imaginary meals with local elected leaders and more than $600 spent at retail stores on Christmas Eve. At the time, we asked new Mayor Leonard Jones about our findings.
Hundreds of dollars of taxpayer money spent, no receipt to show what it is. How concerning is that for you?
Well, that is concerning. And again, if we can find out what has transpired, we will.
And they did. City leaders launched an internal review and agreed with the suspicious expenses we highlighted. The city attorney then sent the former mayor a bill asking him to reimburse taxpayers $961. Turns out all those fake lunches,
Unequivocally, no.
now has the former mayor eating his words.
I'm told almost all that money is refunded. City leaders hope to have the tab fully paid before Dennis checks into prison next month. After our investigation, Grandview changed the rules for how those taxpayer-funded credit cards can be used.